Hey everyone, my name is Sampa Chilapo, and this week on Agita we'll be talking about depression and anxiety. Now, before we get into it, I would like to thank Agita for letting me do this, for I love to talk to people about all sorts of things. It can be depression, it can be trauma, okay, not really trauma, but yeah. I feel like a lot of us have got different feelings that normally a lot of our friends and family rarely notice and all. So I love to talk about these things because I've experienced them, and I would like to help out those that aren't able to do it by themselves. Yeah, so I'd like to thank Ajita for letting me do this. And then let's get into it. So depression and anxiety. So firstly, I'll start with depression. Depression is a feeling of sadness and loss of interest, and it affects how you feel, you think, you behave. It also leads to a variety of emotional drama and all. So then anxiety is a feeling of worry and nervousness. So those are the two definitions of depression and anxiety. And then I'm answering 3 questions that I was asked, and one of these 3 questions will help. They will help those that need to hear this or that need to listen to this. So the first one is, what's the big misconception when referring to depression and anxiety? So what I feel and think is a big misconception when it comes to depression and anxiety is that a person who's depressed only feels sadness, which I feel is really not, what can I say? It's a big misconception, So, depression is meant to bring sadness and all, but it brings a lot and different types of feelings and emotions. So when it comes to depression, you feel sad, you feel lonely, you lose interest if you always played football, read books, and all that changes. You stop doing them, you rarely do them, and most of depressed people do that. So sadness isn't the only thing that a depressed person will feel. Different emotions come through our hearts or minds, and we start to feel so lonely. We feel like the world is ending, and it also leads to suicidal thoughts and other stuff that normally happens to a lot of us teenagers. And then the other misconception is that a depressed person is always sleeping. Well, I love sleeping. When I have nothing to do, I love sleeping. I sleep because sleep brings a peace of mind. I'm just resting and forgetting about all those things that are in my mind. But sleeping, when it comes to a depressed person, is nothing to them. Sleep rarely comes, is what I mean. When you're depressed, you have so many things running through your head, and you don't know what to do, you don't know what to say, you don't know who to tell, and it's just ruining your ability to do certain things or everything that you usually do. And sleeping is mostly done by people who are depressed. Yes, I agree, but it's not all the time. When you're depressed and you have so many things running through your head, you just want something to calm you down and just bring you peace. So you rarely sleep, and it's really depressing. It's really depressing to not have sleep, and mostly it's also dangerous because you need a full time to rest, so your body and mind can work together the next day or stuff like that. But a depressed person is not always asleep. That I disagree with. And then the other misconception is that a depressed person is generally shy. Well, I don't know about other people, but when you're depressed or not, okay, not really depressed, or when you have anxiety, when you're depressed, you're rarely shy because you need to put up a face for the people. Usually, when a depressed person or someone who's having anxiety, they're really shy because they need to put up a face. Yeah, okay, I said that already. But what I mean is, you're out there with your friends, they're cracking jokes. You have to laugh, yeah? Because if you put up that depressed face, they'll start asking questions. They'll be like, what's wrong? And you can't lie to them. So depressed people always put up a brave face to show the world that life is okay, life is great, when inside them it's killing them and they don't know what to do, they don't know who to go to, which is really dangerous and sad. And I'm not saying let me just say let me say we are shy at a certain point, but not all the time, and it's not generally the shyness that comes. When you're depressed, you are brave. You go to school, maybe you're asked a question, you answer it, maybe even crack a joke, and everyone will laugh about it, and yet you're confused. Your mind is complicated and you don't know what to say, which is a really dangerous thing. So yeah. And then my second question is, have I ever had an experience with this and how did I cope? Okay, frankly speaking, I have experienced depression and anxiety. Not that it's lasted very long, no it hasn't. I learned that depression and anxiety is actually a condition that a lot of people get to have, and it lasts for a long time, and if it's not treated well, it gets really worse and you might lose your life. But on the bright side, it is curable now. How did I cope with it? It was hard. It was not simple. It was hard. I didn't have who to talk to. I didn't have who to tell, and the worst thing is that I didn't even go to my family about it, which is very dangerous. You need to have someone to talk to. You need to have someone who you can tell these things, like, this is what's happening. And the most dangerous thing is that not really dangerous, but mostly what happens is that when you have friends and you're experiencing depression and anxiety, your friends usually give the wrong advice. I'm not saying friends actually do give, but there are just certain friends that give you the wrong advice when it comes to depression and anxiety, and others just don't believe you. Like, they just think you want attention, or you're just trying to get some sort of attention and all, but they don't get it. So it's really dangerous and bad. So for someone who's depressed, I was very young. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have who to talk to. And the fact that I lived in a family that had like 14, not really, 14 actually. We had 14 children. Others left and came, and there was no one that I had to tell this to. Like, every time I came back from school, I would say, okay, I'm going to tell this one at home, or I'm going to tell my brother, I'm going to tell my sister. But they'd be in their own world, and I didn't want to spoil that. It's like there was this time my brother came from school, and I really wanted to talk to him about it, but he came from school and he was excited, he won something, and I didn't want to ruin that mood. So I just said, anyway, I'll tell him tomorrow, and so on and so forth. So every day I keep saying I'll tell this one, and yet it doesn't happen, which is really bad. It was really bad for me. There was a point I tried to kill myself without anyone knowing, but I made a decision. I said, no, I have to find a solution to this. I cannot, and mostly, and I should have said this before, and the thing is, we'll look in the wrong places for the advice that we need. The great advice we need, we look for it in the wrong places. I was looking for someone to talk to. I was looking for a human being, a physical being, and yet I had the answer. So the first thing I did was I read the Bible, like those Bibles that had topics like what to talk about, depression, sadness, and stuff like that. So I went through the Bible, I read it, and it helped me a lot. Not that I changed immediately. No, I did not. It took time. It's a process, and it took a while. So I started reading the Bible, and as I was reading the Bible, it gave me courage to tell certain people. I didn't tell any of my family members, which is really sad. And it's really sad because your family should know what's going through your mind. Okay, not really your mind, but what's happening in your life. And I can't lie, I'm so confidential. I rarely share my sad stories or my sad emotions. I just keep them to myself, and at times I find solutions. And there were points where I would ask my family like weird questions, and they'll be like, why are you asking that question? And then in my head I'm just like, oh my god, anyway, I just need to find a story to back up this question I'm asking. And I'll be like, no, my friend at school is going through this, and I thought of giving him advice, and they would answer me. That's how I got certain questions that I had for myself. So that's how I coped with it. It was sad, it was hard, it was long. It was a long process. I cried a lot. I always sat alone, and I rarely talked to anyone. And so that's how it was. And then let's go to the third question. What would I like to see done in relation to previous questions by people and the society at large? Okay, what would I want to see? Well, most importantly, I'd like to see us teenagers pray a lot. We tend to find comfort in drugs, alcohol, and other stuff. But I would advise that reading the Bible gives the solutions to a lot of problems and questions. I'd like to see a lot of us not give doubt to our friends. I had friends who I would tell I'm sad or I'm depressed, and they'll just look at me and be like, it will be over soon. And the most dangerous thing is telling someone to brush it off. Like, it's something that has come and needs a lot of attention, and there's a person telling me to just brush it off. Like, what? So, and what else would I like to say? Okay, and the other important thing is family. I've noticed that a lot of family members rarely commit to each and every one of a family member. So what I'm trying to say is, my family is a busy family. I can't lie. There are a few people that I found home, and not everyone has the ability to talk to someone. And a lot of families are sarcastic to each other, which is bad. Okay, sarcasm is one of the things that I would advise we reduce on, because sarcasm doesn't go for everyone. So mostly I'll talk about family because I went through a lot of things that I did not mention to a family member. Why? Because I felt they wouldn't understand how I felt. They wouldn't understand this feeling I'm having, and it was so weird to tell a family member and talk about it. For me, that's how I grew up. I didn't grow up telling my parents about how school was, how my day was. Would just come back from school and would move on with life, eat, sleep, study, and all that. So I'd like people to change family routines. And families rarely read Bibles, and which is really sad, because I feel every family should have something that is more of a culture, and it should be followed and carried on. So yeah, that's one of the things. And I would also want to see a community that supports each other, because wow, Zambians, okay, there are certain communities where you would find how people support each other and you'd be like, wow, this happens here. And it's really nice to see a community that supports each other, no matter how big the problem or the situation is. A community should be there to help a family out, no matter the problem. So I don't know if this has helped someone, but that's what I had to share. The last thing I'd like to talk about is how we should deal with it. Now, I'm not saying I'm specialized in counseling or anything, but depression and anxiety turn out to be a condition that most of us don't know we do have, and yet we brush it off as we are told to. So depression is a condition that can be cured. Do not be discouraged. If you're depressed, tell someone. If you don't feel your family has the ability to help you, find someone who will, and they will lead you to someone who's going to help you out. So yeah, let's share what we feel, because it's really dangerous to keep things to yourself. You start thinking in the wrong direction and all. So that's all I had. Thank you for having me. I pray and hope someone has learned something from this message. Thank you all. God bless you.